A warm welcome to all. So, we finished our third semester classes and now we are moving on to our fourth semester classes. Okay. So, as your basic cryptogamic study, you completely covered the bryophytes and algae. Okay. Now, we are moving on to another paper that deals with the pteridophytes and gymnosperms. Okay. So, just go back to your first class and listen the total organism that may be classified into cryptogams and phanerogams. Okay. So, cryptogams include algae, fungi, bryophytes, pteridophytes, and coming under that group, now we are moving to discuss on another very important category of cryptogams, that is pteridophytes. Clear? So, pteridophytes and its features, its classification, type, etc. So, in the first class, we can discuss the general characters of pteridophytes. Just by looking into these images that I have displayed in this slide, you can see these plants are familiar to you in your surroundings while you are walking in and also when you are going to tour or in the laterite soil, in the paddy fields. So, in the roadsides, etc. you can see some of these plants. They are very common, and also when you just observe these plants, under the leaves or on the margin you can see some spore like structures also. Okay. So, these groups of plants, they are known as pteridophytes. So, the term pteridophyta, that two Greek words, pteron and phyton. Pteron means feather, feather-like appearance. Phyton means plants. See, this picture clearly explains that description or the term feather-like condition. Okay. And the name was originally given to those groups which have well-developed pinnate or frond-like leaves. This type of leaves are known as pinnate leaves or frond. You can otherwise call it as a frond. That's a typical term used to describe the leaves of pteridophytes. Okay. And pteridophytes, I already told you, they are cryptogams, meaning what? Crypto means hidden and gamos means wedded. Means they have the reproductive systems that are hidden. You cannot see how they are reproducing. Okay. So, that is the seeds are not coming outside, fruits are not seeing. So, such group of plants are known as what? Cryptogams. So, the reproduction is hidden. So, these bryophytes are also you studied that such cryptogams, and bryophytes, in that bryophytes advanced form you studied is funaria, that having an erect structure with small leaf-like and root-like structures. That's all. But when you study these pteridophyte groups, they have a well-developed parts. Clear? See, these are some very common pteridophytes. This is the xylotum that is there in your syllabus. You can see these plants in our area also. And this is another common plant, and this is a very common plant known to you in your field, Selaginella. And these are the horse tails or equisetum, and these are the ferns. This is also a common fern, Adiantum. This is the common fern, Marsilia. When you just look into the paddy field or that ponds, etc., you can see small four leaves floating on the surface. So, that is Marsilia. Okay. So, these are known as vascular cryptogams. So, the main difference from bryophytes are not vascular, but pteridophytes are vascular. What is vascular in this sense? Means they have vascular tissue that are conducting tissue, that is xylem and phloem. That's a very important point you have to study. They are vascular cryptogams, or they may be known as snakes of plant kingdom. Okay. And they are represented by about 400 living and fossil genera, and also having 10,000 and more species. Okay. It includes ferns and hostels. I already told you. Hostel is known as equisetum. See. And most of the pteridophytes, they prefer terrestrial, but some may be of aquatic. Okay. So, many examples are there for aquatic. Example is Marsilia and Azolla. Azolla you may be heard about. Azolla is economically important. That's a good fodder used to feed cows, cattle. Okay. So, that's Azolla cultivation in our common farmers cultivating Azolla in their field in water. Marsilia, I already told you, a small 4-leaf-like structured seen in paddy field. This is a terrestrial habitat. These types you can see, I think it is common to you. This plant also very common, the typical character of the ferns. And some ferns are xerophytic. Example, Selaginella rupestris. Equisetum is also xerophytic. Many ferns are the epiphytic. When you let's just look upon the large trees, you can see some large leaf-like structures attached on them. That are the ferns. And most of them are herbaceous. Some tree-like are also present. Then smallest pteridophyte is Azolla. I already told you that's an aquatic fern. Largest one is the Cyathea tree fern. See, this is the tree fern Cyathea. Tree-like appearance and the fern-like leaves Cyathea. And this is the Azolla. Okay, it's an Azolla pond. Small leaf-like structure. Very small fern Azolla. Okay. Now, so the look into the plant structure. You can see the plant body of pteridophyte is sporophytic. Plant body of pteridophyte is sporophytic. But when you discussed the plant body of algae, that are gametophyte. Clear? Plant body of bryophyte is also gametophyte. But when you look into the plant body of pteridophyte, that are sporophytic. What's the difference? Sporophytic plants that produce spores first. Clear? So, in the leaves you can see spores. And these plants or the ferns or pteridophytes, the entire plant is divided into root, stem and leaves. Differentiation is present. But when you just take an example of a bryophyte, you can't see such type of differentiation. Take an example of Rixia, Anthoceros, etc. You can't see such differentiation. But when you go to the example of mosses, you can see some slight differentiation. But when you reach into this pteridophyte, that clearly you can differentiate root, stem and leaves. Okay. And when you take that branching, it is dichotomous or monopodial stem growth. Then internally take an example or anatomy, they are diarch, two groups of xylem and phloem. And branches usually they not arise from the axil of the leaves. And most cases, some plants of pteridophytes, they have rhizomes, underground stem that is known as rhizome. See, this is an image that showing all the parts well. See, these are the underground rhizome. This is underground rhizome from which aerial branches arise. Okay. So, how the development take place? This is the first leaves, that's a leaf bud. This is a somewhat grown leaves. Then this is the third stage. So, the leaves usually showing coiled appearance. That coiled appearance is known as circinate vernation or pyxis. Just look into a fern, when the new leaves arises, it coil around. That phenomenon is known as, I will show you that, just a minute. See, if it is a rhizome, okay, the new leaves arises, it will be first like this. A coiled structure, new leaves appear like this. This is known as circinate vernation, okay. And all other parts, you just look, this is a pinna or leaves pinna, and that tip also pinnules, branched tip, then underground rhizome, root system, then leaf also, okay. Now, the leaves are very small or maybe large, usually scaly leaves, and maybe simple or sessile, means leaf having stalk or leaf without stalk. Simple or sessile. Okay. Then some cases leaves are large, pinnately compound. What do you mean by pinnately compound? See, this is the common stalk, that is axis of the leaf, known as rachis. And this rachis having the leaves like this. This is one leaf, this is another leaf, this is again, this is again, this is likewise leaves are going on. That is from an axis on both sides leaves arranged, pinnately compound leaves. Okay. See, this is how Selaginella leaves are arranged. Very small leaves arranged in Selaginella, that is sessile leaves. See here how it is arranged, a rachis and both sides leaf. This is a pinnately compounded leaves. Now, looking into the vascular tissue, I already told you that xylem and phloem. Xylem contains the tracheids only and phloem contains the sieve tubes. So, you studied in your anatomy classes what are the components of xylem. Xylem parenchyma, xylem tracheids, xylem vessels, xylem fiber. Clear? So, from these 4 components, xylem tracheids only present here. Understood? But when you take that phloem, you can see sieve tubes. They have a sieve tube, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, phloem fiber, 4 components, but sieve tube only present. This point is very, very important because this is another point. From this evolution going on, and vessels will produce us in gymnosperms. Here there is no vessels, only tracheids. See, this is the condition of tracheids. See what are the parts. This is the cortical region, this is the endodermis, and this is the phloem, this light blue color phloem, and these are the xylem. This is how that arranged vascular bundles. Okay. Now, that center portion of this the stem or leaf or root is known as what? Stele. Clear? So, you know what is an epidermis. See, if it is an epidermis, say how I will draw you. Epidermis, okay. Then up to this, what is present is cortex. Large cells of cortex present. Then what is present is a circular portion. This contains what? The endodermis, pericycle, etc. And at the center, what is present? The stele. Okay. This region is known as the stellar region. This region is known as stellar region. This is the cortical region. Okay. So, there are different types of stele in pteridophytes. That's very, very important. You will study in detail later. So, I will just give an example. Siphonostele, dictyostele, haplostele, protostele, etc. See how stele is organized. See, this is the pink colored structure is the xylem and blue colored structure is the phloem. So, center xylem surrounded by phloem, that is haplostele. Xylem in star shaped surrounded by phloem, that is actinostele. Xylem in plate-like structure and in between phloem, that is pluctostele. And there are pith, center region there is pith, then xylem, phloem. Like many arrangements are there. So, this is the stellar organization. But it's very, very important in the case of ferns. Cambium is absent, so no secondary growth. That's also important. No cambium, no secondary growth. Now, looking into the reproduction. Reproduction is by means of spores. How spores are produced? Inside the sporangia, I already told you. They may be heterosporangiate or homosporangiate. Or means only one type of spore or two types of spore. Spore development may be leptosporangiate or eusporangiate. What is leptosporangiate? Sporangium developed from a single cell. If sporangium developed from a group of cells, that is eusporangiate. Okay. Sporangia developed from a single cell, leptosporangiate. From group of cell, eusporangiate. Understood? Okay. Now, the sporangia may be born on either on leaves or on stem. Usually, sporangia arises on the leaves, on the center part of the leaves, dorsal part, lower portion, or on the ventral upper portion, or on the margin of the leaves. Then, spores on germination give rise to prothallus. Understood? Spore on germination give rise to a structure known as prothallus. These are the spores. Just now you walk around your home or your campus, you can see some pteridophytes. Just look at the leaves and observe where spores are attached. See, this is a way of spore attachment. This is another way of spore attachment. This is another way of spore attachment. This is a marginal from the margins only. So, different ways of attachment of spores are present. So, spores are the asexual reproductive part. The plant may be homosporangiate or heterosporangiate, may be leptosporangiate or eusporangiate. See, sporangia may be terminal at the tip. Example is xylotum. Or they may be on surface of leaf, or they may be on ventral side or margin, or maybe different parts. Then homosporous, I already told you. Spores may be of microspores and macrospores, two types. If that is megaspore. If they are microspore and megaspore, then size difference. it is heterosporous. If both are same, only one type, that is homosporous. Okay. Now, Antheridia and Archegonia. Antheridia and Archegonia are structures produced on the prothallus. What is prothallus? So, plant body is a sporophyte containing stem, leaf, root, etc. That leaf usually having the structure known as spores, or branches of the stem produces spores. These spores liberated out and in the soil it germinate and give rise to a structure. That structure is known as prothallus. Okay. Now in the prothallus, what is developed? Antheridia and Archegonia. Okay. So Antheridia and Archegonia is not developing on the plant, but where it is developing? It is developing in the prothallus. This is a very important point while discussing the character of a fern. Clear? So in homosporous fern, prothalli are monoecious. Antheridia and Archegonia in same prothallus. In heterosporous, they are on different. Okay. So microspores germinate and give rise to male prothallus. Megaspore germinate and give rise to female prothallus. See, this is the image of the prothallus. See, a heart-shaped structure is the prothallus. It's a green colored structure like this. A heart-shaped structure. You can see heart-shaped structure. And this heart-shaped structure is having a notch here, a gap here, and greenish colored structure. And from this region you can differentiate. There are roots, rhizoids arises. And here what is developing? This is what? Archegonium. This is what? The Archegonia. Okay. And this is what? The Antheridia. Okay. So here you can see Antheridia. These are the Antheridia and these are the Archegonia. Okay. So Archegonia and Antheridia in the prothallus. How prothallus develop? Spore on germination. Okay. Male prothallus produce Antheridia, female prothallus produce Archegonia. In homosporous species, both in same prothallus. Then prothallus on germination gives leaves. See how prothallus on germination gives next part, leaf. Then water is essential for fertilization, and after fertilization what happened is zygote formed and that develop into the sporophytic plants. Okay. It undergo division and leaf, root and all parts will develop. Okay. See, this is the life cycle of the fern. See how this is a sporophytic plant. I already told you this is sporophytic plant that have leaves and the leaves bear spores. See, spores arranged on the leaves. A single leaf bearing spores. This is a group of spores that is known as sorus, and the spores that produced sporangium. Sporangium produces spores. Spores liberated out, spores germination take place and develop into prothallus. This is a young prothallus. Prothallus having Antheridia and Archegonia. Where prothallus produced? It's in the soil actually. It is not in this plant, it is in the soil. Prothallus produces Antheridia and Archegonia. See, this is the Archegonia that having egg. Antheridia having male structure or sperm. Male sperm liberates and fertilization take place with the help of water. Zygote formed. Then what develops? New plant in the prothallus or new sporophyte develops. This is the life cycle. Clear? So I will conclude once again what are the features. So mainly habit, they may be terrestrial or aquatic. Okay. The plant body is sporophytic. Plant body differentiated into root, stem, leaf, etc. And the plant body is a sporophyte. So the plant body produces the first reproductive part, that are the sporangia that produces spores. They may be produced on the leaves or on the stem or on the apex. They may be on the marginal side, dorsal side or on the ventral side. Then spores liberated and germinated into the structure known as prothallus. If it is a homosporous condition, only prothallus, one prothallus bear male and reproductive part, Antheridia and Archegonia. If it is heterosporous, microspore develop into male prothallus, megaspore develop into female prothallus. Male prothallus produce Antheridia, female prothallus produce Archegonia. Now, the Antheridia produces sperms, Archegonia produces egg. Both undergo fusion in the help of water or moisture, develop into zygote. Zygote become divided and become the plant, the sporophytic plant. So, this is a life cycle of ferns. So, ferns are the cryptogams. Ferns are the vascular cryptogams. Very important point. They are the vascular cryptogams. They have the xylem tissue with the tracheids only. and they have no vessels and phloem without any other special structures. Okay. So, these are very important, very significant group grown as epiphyte, aquatic or other terrestrial forms. Okay. So, I hope you understood well the general characters of ferns. Also note, ferns having specialized stellar structure may be of different types. Okay. So, I hope you understood well. Have a nice day. Thank you.